I absolutely love geography. Learning about places all around the world, memorizing country locations and capitals, the flora and fauna and climates and everything that goes along with that is truly so exciting for me. And if you don't enjoy geography or your kids don't enjoy it, then I hope this video will be encouraging to you, that you will find some new ways to make geography exciting and enjoyable, and maybe even uncover a love for it that you and your kids didn't know you had yet. And if you do enjoy and love geography like I do, then I'd love for you to leave some of your favorite recommendations and resources down in the comments below. For those that are new here, I'll go first. I'm Rachel, a second-generation homeschool mama to 5 kids, ages 7, 5, 4, 2, and 7 months. We just had a couple birthdays, now I have another one next week, so I'm having to think about that a little bit. And on my channel here, I love sharing my passions for homeschooling, good books, games, resources, and spending time outside enjoying God's incredible creation. Now it's your turn, and I would love for you to introduce yourself down in the comments if you're new here, and tell me something about yourself. If you have been around for a little bit, then tell me something about you that I don't know. I truly love hearing from you guys, and even though I'm not really a big fan of technology in general and social media and all that stuff, I do love that this platform here on YouTube gives us the opportunity to have a community that is otherwise can be a little tricky to find, and that through this platform we can make connections with others that are all around the country, maybe even outside of the country. If you're from another country, then let me know that, because that'd be really cool. But we can find other homeschool mamas that are similar minded to ourselves, have similar values and ideals, and that is really cool. And so being able to make connections on here is so special to me. So really, let me know in the comments something about yourself. Really love to hear it. Okay, back to geography. I have my resources here. So first off, I structure my geography that we do based around our history. And the history we use is my favorite curriculum that I've shared before, and that is Generations History Curriculum. So right now we're doing Taking Asia for Jesus. And so for our geography, we are studying Asia. And I love that even though this is a history curriculum, it does, first off, it has just incredible pictures, but it's got a lot of little snippets like this. So this right here is basic facts about Mongolia. And it tells you the population, it tells you the capital, total area, official languages, primary region. And so I love that it has those facts, and it's got a fair bit of maps. Let's see if I can pull up one of the maps somewhere. I'm not going to show you in here too much because, like I said, I actually have a flip-through video of this curriculum on my channel. I'll link that below for you if you want to see it. But it's got a lot of different maps in here, and along with this, the student workbook also has a lot of map work. And I actually, oftentimes for curriculums like this, I don't always do the student workbook because a lot of times we'll just discuss it afterwards and that kind of stuff. But the main reason I wanted to get the student workbook is because there's some good map work in it. And so right here it has a map of India, and it tells you just to find some different cities and label them, and to label the neighboring countries and stuff like that. And it also has other questions just to kind of review what we learned in the lesson. But it's got a lot of different map work that my oldest mostly does. So that's kind of what we structure our geography around. And we will probably be doing this curriculum for the next few months. I'm imagining we'll be done by Christmas time. And so until then, we'll be studying Asia, and then after that, we're going to do Taking Africa for Jesus, and so we'll move on to learning about Africa and geography. But that is kind of how we start. And then the first thing we do is a lot of map work. Now, for my kids, some of the biggest things I want them to learn through our geography, one is just having an understanding of the culture and learning just kind of a basic idea of what other parts of the world are like. But other than that, I really am working on memorizing the capitals and memorizing the country locations. Now, I don't have the expectations on my kids to where I am requiring them to memorize stuff or going to be testing them on it or anything like that. I myself am trying to memorize as much as I can, and my third grader is doing really good, and he is really enjoying memorizing a lot of stuff. And even my first grader is doing pretty good on, he's not retaining everything by any means, but he's got quite a few countries around the world that he knows where are and that he can tell me the capitals just from the geography we've been doing the last couple years. But like I said, map work. So for our map work, we do it in the mornings during our morning time when we do the rest of our memory work. And my two older boys have just a binder for their memory work, and I'm gonna have them do a page, kind of a cover page, that will probably do that on our first official day of school in about a week. And so it'll have their name on it, and we usually do watercolor, make it look kind of pretty. But for now, we've got their binders. And we've got all of our other memory stuff. We've got our calendar and our verse and hymn and stuff like that. And then at the back, I've got a section for their maps. And so the first one is the map that we're currently working on. So here's our map of Asia. And it's from Cetera. I think I found it off of Pinterest, and it was for free, which was really cool. And one of the things I really love about these maps is they had a lot of different options, and one of them had them labeled, and one of them had it completely unlabeled, which I'll show you that in a minute, but my map is unlabeled, and I'll get into that in a minute. But so it's got them all labeled, and what we do is probably twice a week or so, we will read about a different country in our Book of Nations from Beautiful Feet Books. And I really love this book. It is a fabulous reference book. And that is what it is, and that's how we use it. It does not have stories about different stuff. It does not go into the culture and that kind of things. It is a reference book. And so as that, I love it. It's got beautiful pictures in it. Most of the countries have a one-page spread, some of them have two. But it's got the official name, the capital, population, total area, population density, and that one's really cool because there could be a country that has not that many people, but it's a really small country, and so just learning about population density has been really interesting. I love that it has the flag and shows where it is, a picture, the national parks, prominent biomes, demographics, and then it has a few fun facts. And some of them, like this one, with a lot bigger spread, just has gorgeous photographs. So I also like that it's really quick. It takes 2 minutes to read about a country, maybe. So we will choose a country either that is one we read about in our history book. And so recently in our history book we've read about China, we read about India and Japan. And so those countries are all colored because we've read them in our Book of Nations, and after we read it in our Book of Nations, we color it. And so as we're going, we're trying to memorize as we're reading about them, because if you try to memorize an entire continent of countries, that'll be overwhelming and it'll be really hard. And so we basically are trying to focus on a few at a time, and then every week we add a couple. So that's kind of the first part of it. The other part of it is that when we go over our map work, we listen to a geography song, and I have a CD for it. It's called Geography Songs by Kathy Troxel. And she also has grammar songs and a couple other things. And these are old school. I listened to them in the 90s, so they've been around a while. But I really love them. It's just so fun. And learning through songs, I think for most of us, makes it so much easier and more fun and all that good stuff. But I like that the songs are divided between regions. And so the first song is South Asia, and I think it mentions Afghanistan, Pakistan, India, Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Maldives. And so basically it's a small section that we're memorizing the ones we're singing about, but then we also have the couple that we've read about. And so we'll do our song, and then we'll do the ones we've learned about, and it's just kind of an easy way to be memorizing as we go. And even though I have a CD, usually I just pull it up on YouTube because I found it on YouTube, and it's a lot easier to just pull it up on my phone than, I don't know, put the CD in a player and all that. So I'll try to link that too. But yeah, that's the first part of the map work. And then one additional thing we do with the map work is our review with it, because we have done so far with World Geography, North America, South America, the Middle East, kind of Northern Africa, and Southern Europe. And so I keep their maps in here that we've already done, and they can look through them as they want. And another thing we do with this, that mostly myself and my oldest do, is putting in some different major rivers or mountain ranges and stuff like that. So you see he's got the Amazon rainforest and the Andes Mountains and the Amazon River. And so we'll add different landmarks to our maps. It's really cool. But on Fridays is our Fun Friday school day, where we don't do much actual curriculum, but we do some review work, we do some extra games, we do just kind of stuff like that. But I've got, this is our map folder. I don't have a name for it, but it's got all of our maps from the stuff we've already learned. And so on Fridays, I pull out this one, and I typically do, I think I'm doing like 4 maps a week, where basically every 2 or 3 weeks we've gone through all of these maps. And so it keeps fresh the things that we've learned over the last year and a half or so now. So I've got our world map, I've got North America and Central America, I've got South America and Southern Europe, I've got the countries in Africa that we've learned, the Middle East, and then here's our current map. And so as I start to mention, what I like with these maps I found, Satera, with the different options, is that on my map, I like to do the non-labeled one. And for one, that kind of makes it challenging for myself because that way I'm truly memorizing it and it's not just reading the names. But then also for my kids, when we do our review, I will test them on this. And for my younger ones, it doesn't matter as much. If my first grader though, even though he can't really read the names, he recognizes names long enough that if he sees it starts with a P, he might guess it's Pakistan. Which I also like that they're seeing how these countries are spelled and that kind of stuff. But I like being able to use the non-labeled ones for myself and for quizzing. Then the next part of it, something we use, is our different, in addition to the Bookmations, our other kind of resources. We've got some different atlases. And the atlases we have, we've got 2 here. I don't have them specifically worked into our schedules and routines, but they are on hand anytime we just want to learn more about something. One thing we really use them for is sometimes when we are coloring our maps, we will have something, especially if it's got islands, and we're not totally sure where's the border, well, does this island belong to which country and all that. And so we'll pull up one of our atlases. We've got this one, and we've got this one, and that'll help us usually find that a little better. Or we'll find the different geographic features and landmarks in these atlases and add that to our maps. So this one is the DK Children's Atlas. I like it quite a bit. And my older 2 will look through these, especially my oldest. My oldest is definitely the most interested in geography, and so he will read through these on his own. But I like these. They just got fun illustrations and good photographs as well. Very user-friendly, easy for younger ones to kind of enjoy it and understand it. And the other one, this is the old one that I got on thriftbooks. It's National Geographic Kids Beginners World Atlas. And one thing I like a lot about this one, at least I think, it's the one that has political maps and geographical maps. So here is Africa, and so it's got all the different regions. It shows the different mountains and rivers and forests and stuff like that. And then it's got the political map where it shows you the countries and capitals as well, and just some different facts. And there's not much. I mean, those are the only 2 pages for Africa, so it doesn't go into the different countries at all. It's just have on hand as a resource book. But yeah, but it's a good one. We like it. So the next thing that we have as part of our world geography is our read alouds. I've got 2 main series here. The first one is the Magic Treehouse books. And the typical Magic Treehouse ones, they're not one that I just like love. The kids like them a lot. My oldest will read them on his own. My younger ones enjoy listening to him. you don't get a lot out of the traditional ones. Yeah, they have a few snippets of things you might learn, but what I love is the fact trackers. If you have not seen these, and these are good. Now, I will say they are not anywhere close to Christian books, and so I haven't had too many issues with things that if I had things I didn't want in them, we would read it. But I think there has been, maybe, this one we're reading the China one right now because we've been learning about China, and I think this one might have had some evolutionary reference of something that it mentioned it being older than it clearly is from a creationist viewpoint. And I'm not too worried about that because my kids know, and I've talked about that, and I don't want to be so strict on what I allow into the house where they're never even exposed to things while they are in my own home, under my roof, near me. And then they go out when they're older and they're just bombarded with things and like shocked by things that they never even knew was an idea that others had, or that kind of stuff. And so I don't go very far with that. I don't let my kids read books that have things like just disrespect and any kind of bad language or potty humor or just things that I don't agree with. I don't want my children to be exposed to. But this kind of thing I don't mind so much because I think it's good to talk about it and good to have kids aware of what others believe, even though we know it's wrong. So these ones are good. They have a lot of information. It's not really told as a story at all, but and so my younger ones don't enjoy it very much, but me and my oldest like it a lot. But let's see. Let's show you some pictures from it. Read about some of the different inventions that came from China, which was really interesting. So we read about paper, and I think it mentioned the compass and printing, and it's got some black and white photographs, different celebrations. So the fact tracker books go along with different books in the series. Like this one is the companion to Day of the Dragon King. I don't have that one. Some of the Magic Treehouse books are a little more not what I want than others, and so I just wasn't sure if the Day of the Dragon King sounded like it had more of the potential to be sharing things that I didn't really care to be reading about, so I didn't get that one. And all of these of these books I've either gotten at thrift stores or ordered from thrift books. But let's see, one we read recently was Tigers at Twilight. I don't think this one has a nonfiction companion, but even though there's not a lot of actual facts that the kids are going to learn, this one's set in India, so we read this when we were learning about India. It's still fun just to kind of get excited about learning about India and kind of get you in the spirit a little bit, but it's got just fun illustrations and super quick and easy read. I think I read this one in one sitting to my kids when my youngest two were napping. Most of them I'll read over a span of maybe 2-3 days tops, but yeah, I read it in one sitting. And some of the other ones we have here is The Afternoon on the Amazon we read last year, and the companion to it is The Rainforest. Yeah, Polar Bears in the Arctic, and this is also a nonfiction companion. It's funny because some of them just say Magic Treehouse Research Guide, and some of them are fact trackers. I'm not really sure why that is, but they're essentially the same thing. And then later on this year, we'll read Good Morning Gorillas, Lions at Lunchtime, and Dingoes at Dinner Time. So that's kind of the first set of books I've got that we read through. The next one I have is one that I don't know where I heard about these. I imagine it had to have been someone on YouTube, but I just can't remember. But it is called, I think it's just called the Adventure Series, and here's a few of them we have. And I think we have 3 others that I read last year and I couldn't find them. But these are splendid. They are wonderful. The one that we're going to be reading first this year is Cambodian Adventures. And we'll probably start this in the next couple weeks, I think. But these are all Christian books. They're mostly based on different missionaries or just different people that have traveled there. And it's kind of interesting because all these books are written by different authors, the different ones in the series, and so they kind of vary a little bit book to book in the series. But let me just read you the back of this to kind of explain a little better. This one says, find out about the nation of Cambodia and what it's like to live and work in the Far East amongst the, oh boy, Khmer people? I don't know how to pronounce that. Experience the reality of missionary life in a Buddhist country. Join in with the adventure as you travel around in taxis, vans, trucks, carts, and tuk-tuks. Small roofed carriages pulled around by motorcycle. Discover what a fried spider tastes like and what drink tastes like pureed cabbage. As you clamber through jungle and through rice paddy fields, you'll find out how to repel a snake bite and how God loves the people here as much as anywhere, and it goes on. But they are really, really good. They've got quite a few illustrations, although not every page has an illustration, and just small black and white illustrations. But really, really wholesome and inspiring. And I like that most of them, I don't think everyone does, but most of these books at the back of them, and they're pretty short. This one's 82 pages. I think most of them are under 100 pages or right around 100. And most of them have a lot of Bible verses throughout. But here at the back, it's got this map of Cambodia. And then it has a Cambodia quiz. And so it's got all kinds of different questions. What kind of musical entertainment is very popular in Cambodia? Besides Cambodia, can you name the other countries of Southeast Asia? What's the main religion of the country? What provides electricity in the village house? All kinds. It's got 16 different questions here. Oh no, it has more. It has 28 different questions, had 4 pages. And then it has the answer page at the back. And so that's really cool too, where after you read it, you can see how much you remembered. So we've got Cambodia adventures. Later in the year, we'll read Outback adventures and African adventures. And then I think next year we'll do Europe and we'll read Scottish Highland adventures. So these books are just hard to explain. They're really, really good. They're also older ones. I think they are published in, not as old as I thought. This one was published in 2004. They feel older in a good way, if that makes sense. Yeah, this is 2003. I'm actually really surprised. I assumed they were 80s and 90s. I was wrong. This one's even 2009. They just have that wholesome, simple kind of feel of older books. But I highly, highly recommend these books. They're such a good combination of pure and wholesome, learning about the different places, learning about the animals and the people, and the main theme throughout all of that is God's love, God's forgiveness, serving Him, and all of those things. So, highly recommend. I don't know really where you can find these new, if you still can, I'm not sure. They're from Christian Focus Publications. I wonder if you could go, if they have a website you could go to, but I think I may mentioned I've gotten all of these off of thriftbooks. And most of them are pretty reasonably priced. There's a couple that are kind of expensive that I'm bummed about because I wanted to get the one set in, I think, Nepal. It's called Himalayan Adventures, I think. But I want to say it was close to $20, and that's too much for me to spend on a used book. I couldn't make myself do it, but so good. Okay, the last aspect of our geography is games. And we have a few different games and a few different puzzles, but I'm only going to show you one because this is the one game that I really feel like helps us learn and memorize so much and helps us review the things we've learned and keep fresh the things we've learned. And I showed it before in another video sharing just some of the different educational games we love, but it is the World game. And I'm gonna actually open it up and flip the camera around to show it to you a little more because it is just, I feel like a lot of what we've learned has been from this game, and a lot of what we've retained from things we've learned, a lot of review we've done has been from this game, so I want to show it to you. So our board is broken because it's well loved. But first off, just look at this board. Isn't that, don't you love it? I love it. I love the colors. But you've got your board, and every single country is numbered. And the game cards, each card, there's a card for every single country, and each card has the number, so you know where exactly it is. The color coordinates with the continent, and it's got all these facts. So it's got the flag, first of all. It's got the area, the population, GDP per capita, which that's really cool, because that's not something that we have
much than any other books or games or resources that we use. So that's kind of neat. Also the highest point, and then neighboring countries. So you've got all these different cards, one for every different country, and you can even use these just as flashcards too. We haven't done that yet, but that'd be a good use of them as well. But you've got all these cards, one for every country. And when you play, I think you can play with, how many is this? 6 players. And you've got these little wooden pieces, which I like too. I like little wooden pieces. But you start up top here, and when it's your turn, you roll 2 dice. You've got 2 dice here. Now here's a funny thing though. The directions mention rolling 1 die. So I don't know why they have 2. But we tried it that way once, and it took forever to play. So we roll 2. And what you do is you roll the dice. Everyone will grab a blue card, and you look, whoever rolled gets to choose one of the facts on their card that they think is the best fact. So let's say they choose highest point. Their highest point is 8,957. Let's say the other players have these 2 cards. Whoever had Guatemala would win because they have the highest point. So whoever had this card gets to go a 3 for the roll. So that's the first kind of aspect of it. And so it's really cool just to learn these different facts. And I've even learned a lot from this game of kind of being able to conceptualize better, okay, what does an area of 42,000 kind of look like on a map in relation to other sizes? And that's been really helpful to myself. And the other stuff's been kind of interesting too. But the other part is that if you have a card and you don't think it's very good, like this one, very small, very low population, not a great GDP per capita, not a great high point, and 0 neighboring countries. So if you have a card and you don't think it'll win anything, you can choose to be challenged instead. And if you're challenged, the person to your left, I think, will do their card. And there's different questions for different levels and ages. And the different things you could be challenged would be the easiest is just whoever has his cards says the country, Guatemala, and you have to say which continent it's on. The next step up would be you have to locate it, and so you'd have to know exactly where it is and say the number for it. The others are the capital or the flag, which is the hardest. So basically they would just show you the flag and you'd have to guess what country it is. So that would clearly be very, very difficult. Another aspect of it is these kind of special cards, and as you're going around, each different color is representing a different continent. And so when you get into a new color, new continent, you draw one of these yellow cards. And this one says player has to challenge you with a question from newly drawn card. So if you got a question wrong on a challenge, then you would get a new option. This one's fact changer. So if you have a great card, but one of your facts isn't good, but everything else is, after the question is asked, the fact is asked, then you can do a new one. There's also roll again, all kinds of different ones. These are just kind of a fun little aspect.
And then sometimes me and my husband and my oldest will even just play where we'll only do it the trivia way. And so we'll roll both dice, and the colored die dictates what question you get asked. Whether, I think we say where 1 and 2 are kind of the freebies almost, and if you roll 1 or 2, one of the other players' cards that they draw, they say the country and you have to say what continent it is. If you roll 3 or 4, you have to pinpoint where it is on the map. A 5 is you have to say the capital of the country, and 6 is you have to name the flag. So we will do that as a purely trivia style of the game. And here's one of the things I love about this so much. And this is especially for those that are competitive, like myself. But having games like this, it is such an incentive to memorize the countries and the capitals and locations and all that. Because the reward is you play a game and you win. And if you're not a competitive person, then it's not as much so. But for me, that's huge. And so, and the same with my kids and my husband. So it is such an incentive to study and to memorize these things. And then it's just so rewarding playing these games, and especially for our oldest son, where he'll play games like this, and when he knows something that my husband doesn't, or that I maybe didn't remember, you can just see how good it makes him feel and how exciting that is for him. So this game here, I almost consider like my secret weapon of geography, and I just highly, highly, highly recommend it. Honestly, I love it so much that I may someday buy a second one just so I have a backup in case it ever goes out of, stops being sold. But that is it. That is what we do for World Geography. We just love geography so much. And I think kind of the combination of myself loving geography and the different books and the resources we have, that is instilling a love of learning geography and learning about the world in my kids as well. And that is so fun to see, and it is so rewarding to see. Let me know if you have any of these same books or resources, or if you have your own favorites. Share those in the comments. Even though I have quite a few things, I'm always on the lookout for more. And if you enjoyed the video, then please give it a like, and I hope you'll stick around, and I'll see you next time.